80-degree day on the edge of Orange County, so why not Havli in California?
When me and the boys wanted to kick off a fun Disney day outside of the gates, we know that we needed to start the Woods Inn. Leaving the gates of Disneyland behind, we could venture into the Frontierland decor, wood-carved critters, transporting us to the bygone era where the spirit really get it wrong, little piece of steak, it was okay. But me and the boys all ordered the brisket, and I think we all walked away a little bit disappointed that it was more like pulled pork than slices of thick-cut brisket.
They asked the good Lord for some help, he got no reply, and he said Jesus ain't an easy man to talk to, and heaven never sounded all that nice, but I feel a little better singing, drinking songs together, a little 16 bars of paradise.
All right, ambiance, pretty good. Food, I give it 2 Peters. And that's about as kind as I can be. But for a vibe, pretty awesome. And I bet, Hammer, do they do anything special during Christmas? Do they deck it out a little bit more for the holidays?
I don't remember that, but I'd be willing to come back and try.
All right, there you go, challenge accepted. All right, now let's go to Burbank onto that big old Disney auction. Now, auction's not today, we're just gonna look at the stuff.
It was exciting to see Disneyland outside of, well, Disneyland. And I wasn't the only one that was excited to see this. With lots of other folks decided to make this how they spent their Saturday outside the gates.
So I'm gonna go into incognito mode, do all the voiceover at home because there is so much to see here and it's so crowded. Probably not gonna film anything in the glass cases because the reflection is insane, but do wanna show you guys some of the things I love the most. Signs, ride vehicles, and models. There's actually models here, and I love when Disney does It's a Small World. And I'm not talking about the ride, I mean I love the ride, but I love when they build the tiny little version of all the attractions that big ideas come from. Let's take a rip around incognito mode.
Joel McGee built this collection for over 30 years, amassing over 6,000 pieces. And what we're looking at today is only 1,500. And for me, it's a lot of videos. But the thing that started to really strike me is this may be the only time that I'm able to get this close to some of these items and fully appreciate the hand-painted details on the trains of Big Thunder Mountain. Getting to see pieces of the Haunted Mansion under fluorescent light instead of under the ghostly cloak of darkness was such a delight. I can fully appreciate how the carts are made of matte black coatings so they won't reflect the lighting from the show scenes as they cruise by, or how deep the grooves are cut into the hitchhiking ghost faces, and how their stage makeup is painted so extreme to break through all of that bright stage lighting. I could for the first time ever see the canvas grooves of the stretching portraits. And how soft the painter's hand was in putting in so many delicate brushstrokes to create highlights and reflections. But the highlight for me was getting to see the complete track layout with all the different show scenes, the path that we take in our dune buggies, and the indicators allowing the mansion's servants to perfectly manage their temporary guests. I appreciated having so much time to take in so many perfect details that get lost even from an eagle eye of design. being able to fully appreciate the Peter Pan flying cart, and the high gloss of Dumbo, who I want to add is a pretty perfectly illustrated character with all of his smooth, rounded contour lines and those heartbreaking eyes. And I don't know if Mr. Toad will always be around, or at least will it always be the same. So I made sure to take my time studying his chubby little devil friends. And then also getting to see the original shields or crest that hung outside of the original 1955 Fantasyland dark rides. This was the only time in 1955 when Disneyland opened that you got to see Snow White. And now I got to see her and the brushstrokes that formed the bow and the friendly face on this very graphic take on the original dark ride and Disney Princess. I've always enjoyed that the Snow White carts were created to look like they were carved out of wood, even though they were probably sculpted out of clay and then cast from there. The time it must have taken to put that wood grain into every piece of the cart, and then to also apply that to its fictional carvings. It was nice to see one of these stationary, to really enjoy all the textures that are normally just flying right past me. I've always been obsessed with the idea that Captain Hook's ship once sat outdoors in Fantasyland, right where Dumbo resides today, and getting to see the sign and appreciating that it's hung by Hook's severed hand was such a fun surprise. But without a doubt, my favorites were the Imagineering models. Getting to see Tomorrowland in its prime. Thinking about how many times I've seen this exact model in old Disney documentaries and videos, and now here it is, sitting right in front of me. To look at and to track the people mover. Seeing the rocket jets in their perfect home, and the murals of Mary Blair that somewhere along the line somebody thought was right to cover up with artwork that's not even worthy of being on a Trapper Keeper. Man, do I dream of being one of those shadow people being stuck in this model in this moment in time. And then there's the Matterhorn Mountain model with a tiny little yacht bar tucked in the corner. And sky buckets still piercing through its hollow center. These models are the last stop at Fantasy because once they're approved, the project begins its transition into reality. And I've always loved the hope and optimism these models, where currently almost everything and anything is still possible, exist. And the loving care of showing all the different ways that people will be able to enjoy Disneyland's First Mountain, how could I not stand here for 20 minutes? But honestly, as much fun as I had seeing this collection, which is impressive, it always kept reminding me that this is all just stuff. Sure, magical and nostalgic stuff, but at the end of the day, it's just stuff. It's kind of sad, flopping around like a fish when you take it out of water, trying to breathe, trying to find its purpose, taken away from its environment. I'm not a collector, and I don't like much stuff unless it does something, like camera equipment, a guitar, a skateboard. As much as I appreciate art that was created to live in a gallery, these pieces are not that. Most of the items weren't designed to sit on a shelf where a proud person with enough money and connections can brag about the treasure that they purchased. Unlike gallery art that was meant to display, to stand on a wall through time and let people come up, gawk, and admire, These items were mostly meant to live and work together in harmony. They are all small, tiny instruments that play a part in a huge symphony, where together they play their music of magic and nostalgia. But in this room, if I'm being honest, I found them all just to be sad and lonely. Like I said, in case you haven't noticed, I am not a collector. So it just doesn't hit me like it hits others. And I'm kind of envious of that feeling that I, for some reason, don't possess. Don't get me wrong, I left happy to see so many things for the very first time. Happy to learn more, happy to explore more about the place that I love. But I didn't leave feeling let down, that I left empty-handed, when I feel blessed to have left full-hearted.
Well, it appears that one of us is walking away with a souvenir from the auction. What'd you get, Heber?
Made a purchase, Mark. The old 30th anniversary party
Nice.
lithograph signed.
By Mickey Mouse?
Signed by Mickey.
Okay.
Minnie was unavailable. Just Mickey.
Do you already have a spot for that? Home or office?
Home. We'll see where the wife says it goes.
All right, I like that.
Might end up in my office.
I like that. Home office.
We'll see if it makes it to the main floor.
Had a great time walking around in there. I do want to just say that it was maybe too much to handle. Like, it was just insane. It's just thing that you love piled on thing that you love. And there's something interesting to me about seeing the pieces of Disneyland separated, spread out, not in their home turf. You really realize that these are just, to me, magical items, of course, sentimental items, probably more accurate. But to me, there's something that is missing when they're not next to all the other components that make Disneyland a show. It was fun to see these pieces. I'm not a collector, so I don't fully get it. But I do like seeing all these pieces back home in the park, in the symphony that they all belong to. But it was definitely interesting. Check it out. It'll be here for a little bit longer. And what a wild thing to see. And considering that this is one person's auction is absolutely wild. I got to talk to the owner of Van Eaton and had so many questions to ask him. I need to do a for real interview with that guy at some point. On with our fun Saturday. Making another stop on our Dude's Day adventure. Just stopping at a little place called Walt Disney Imagineering.
We had time to kill before our dinner, so hopped across Burbank to say thanks and pay tribute to the location that birthed so much of the treasure that we had just seen. Star Tours Flight 1401, you are cleared for departure. It's here, right here in front of me, where men and women's imaginations, their craftsmanship, and their dreams have illustrated, painted, sewn, and sculpted Disneyland into reality. Thinking of those who walk down this sidewalk just to put in an honest day's work puts chills down my arm, and to think of what they have created puts a lump in my throat. Thank you, Imagineering. Thank you for your dreams. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your service. And I'm very happy that this is still your forever home.
It is pretty magical to think of all the things that have happened in this building and from this team. And I am so excited. Out of all the dumb things that they almost did during the Chapek era, keeping Imagineering in Burbank, California where it belongs, that makes me happy, because this is where it should always be, and they should never mess with the legacy parts of the brand.
Our adventurous day still had some time to kill, so why not hit a California mall where the best ones are outdoors and built like movie sets. Walking around the horseshoe of the Americana at Brand, yes, I agree, worst name ever for a mall, it's not lost on me of how much Disney's theme park design exists right here. You can see the same thing at the Grove as well. When contrasted with the Galleria across the street, that is a traditional America mall, where you have a huge box with anchor stores flanking all the deep ends, and the interior center is just stores all lining an outer shell with pathetic kiosk in the dead center. The Americana is designed just like a set piece, where inside of its horseshoe, you are now captive to its sight lines, where apartments above create a giant visual fence to keep you inside of this world of commerce. It's designed to look like a block of London or New York City, where stores greet you on the ground level as the citizens live above. Not too different than a famous street in Anaheim. The idea of making Disneyland a stage that you walk on has been retooled for these new shopping centers that have popped up here in California, but also all across America. And I always enjoy walking through them and taking in part of the show.
I literally walked through this entire mall to find a Starbucks that was inside of a Macy's on the second floor. Finally get there, no ice, no cold brew. Daddy needs his coffee. I'm feeling cranky. Not my first pick, but a Starbucks Target for the win. Maybe a win, who knows, haven't had it yet. So I knew that I spoke early because this is the absolute last cold brew that they have. So the buds don't get their drink, but I get mine, and it was foam from there.
Sorry about that, here.
Thanks, bud, appreciate it. That is a refund because they could not have enough cold brew for my buds to get their drinks.
Free money.
Free money.
And finally, our dinner reservation is ready to be called at the Tam O'Shanter Inn, also known as the Tam by the locals. It's one of Los Angeles' oldest restaurants. It was established in 1922, serves up hearty pub fare with a touch of Scottish flair, and is well known for its prime rib and its Yorkshire pudding, which, newsflash, is not pudding. It's a hollow biscuit. It's good, but it's not pudding. It is located in Atwater Village on Los Feliz Boulevard. Those are all things that you can find on Buena Vista Street at home in Disney's California Adventure. And yes, urban legend has it, this was Walt Disney's favorite restaurant. It's constructed in a storybook-style building aided by movie studio carpenters, where rumor has it every piece of wood that was used in the structure was first thrown into a fire. The results were it never had to get painted, and it would get more beautiful as the years would go by. The Tam O'Shanter opened in 1922 and was an instant success. They say that the Disney animators used to eat here so often it was dubbed the Studio Commissary. And Walt himself had a favorite table, table 31. It's to the left, next to the fireplace. And table 15 was John Wayne's table. So Walt and Wayne both ripped prime rib in this location. Unfortunately, it was busy and I didn't want to bother the people that were sitting there. But it's something to think about for a future video or for your own adventures outside of the gates. It's rumored that the architecture of the Tam helped influence the building design at the Pinocchio ride in Disneyland, but you can definitely see the Fantasyland 1983 influence all up and down the block, which that alone for me is enough to take the drive.
Friends, me and the guys are having our final stop of the evening. I think our final stop of the evening in a place that looks a lot like New Fantasyland at home at Disneyland. It's an establishment that had a huge influence on Walt Disney as well as Disneyland. I'm not going to show you everything inside the restaurant because it's full of people, but I do want to show you some of the details as we do this wild outside of the gates Disneyland day.
It has a very cool vibe that allows you, much like Buena Vista Street, to feel how old Hollywood would have been during Walt's time. I got the prime rib, but I had a very small table that I was sharing with 3 hungry dudes, so you'll have to imagine what it looked like because I dared not to try to take the time to film it. It tasted great, but I'm not a food review guy. I'm just a guy that loves art, architecture, and nostalgia vibes, which this place has all of the above. And maybe as a topic for another video at another time, but today's video was about the adventure of going out with your friends, doing things outside of the gate, and celebrating Disney's rich history all over Los Angeles.
All right, friends, from the edge of the historic part of the Disney story, thank you so much for going on this bizarre day with me. I hope you had fun. I hope you had as much fun as I did.